Hello, I'm Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for all of your comments. And to all my new subscribers, welcome and thank you. I'm so glad that you could join us. In today's video, we will be looking at the major astrological events for 2021 as they relate to the sign Cancer. You should watch the video for your rising sign and your sun sign, as both will be very informative. 2021 has a lot going on astrologically, so let's get into it. Hello, Cancer. Let's look at what 2021 has in store for you. The year starts out with pretty much everything happening in your eighth house. Well, your seventh and eighth house. So at the very beginning of the year, New Year's Day, you've got the Sun, Mercury, and Pluto in your seventh house for partnerships. So there's a big focus on your partner and you and your relationship right from the beginning of 2021. The sun is going to shine a light on what is happening in your relationship, for good or for bad. It's just going to show you what's happening there. It's also going to give it some life, some energy, some chi. So if things have been, slightly stagnant or a little boring or whatever, the sun is going to just put a light on that and boost it up. A little warming up of the relationship will happen. And also with Mercury there, you'll find you'll have some great conversations. So that's always really, really nice. And then your eighth house is the focus on your partner's resources or your shared resources, and also any big money that's in your life, like a mortgage, a big loan, a 401k, investments, mutual funds, tax accounts, like a Keo account or something. All of that falls into your eighth house, along with issues having to do with the occult, with taxes, with insurance, with the darker side of life, actually. So with Saturn and Jupiter there, you're going to be examining how you handle those things with your partner, because the eighth house is the shared resources, not just your big money, but usually money that you share with a partner or that you obtained when you were in partnership. Now, some people don't have a partnership and they still have an eighth house and they still have money there. But usually when people join in a union of some kind, they begin to acquire things like mortgages or insurance or whatever. And they have to pay bigger taxes as well. So Saturn is the taskmaster. It teaches you lessons. It teaches you how to do things. It also forces you to really analyze things when it passes through that particular part of your chart. So Saturn is really putting a spotlight on your shared resources and asking the question, do you handle it well? Have you handled it well? Do these investments, whatever they are, do they serve you? Is this still what you want it to be? Whereas Jupiter expands all of that, not just the analyzation part of it, but Jupiter expands what you have in your shared resources. So you may expand your life insurance policies. You may decide to do more investing. You may decide to put more of your steady income into retirement funds. Things like that may begin to occur at the beginning of 2021 for you and your spouse or your partner. And the combination of the two kind of makes sense, because you wouldn't just make those kinds of bigger investments unless you did the analysis first. It can also mean that if you are due some money, like from a court settlement or an insurance payout or selling a house or something, that you haven't received that money yet, with Jupiter there, it could be a bigger payout than you expected. So that's the very beginning of the year. Then we go into about halfway through the month into January 14th, and we have the first moon in Aquarius. And moon in Aquarius all through the first few months of 2021 is important because it's going to spotlight the Aquarius side of your chart. And in this case, that's your eighth house. So when the moon comes along on the 14th, may very well be when you're able to really talk to your partner about this stuff in a less, ironically, a less emotional way. people often get very emotional around the topic of money, and the sign of Aquarius is not emotional. And both of those big planets, Saturn and Jupiter, are in Aquarius in your 8th house. And so you're used to your 8th house being sort of this no man's land that is a little bit tricky for you to talk about because you're Cancer. You're emotional. You live on the emotional plane, right? So having to deal with your partner in this very dispassionate way is awkward, probably, I'm guessing, for a lot of you Cancers. So the moon there gives you an opportunity to sort of meet. There's some sort of an emotional need there for you to deal with this stuff, because the moon is passing over. So that January 14th, that's a good time for you to, make a bowl of popcorn, open a bottle of wine, sit down and say, okay, we got to look at this stuff, because you'll both be more comfortable with that energy. The 16th of January is the first of the big events that take place all throughout the year between Uranus and either Mars or Saturn. One of the reasons that the January 16th Mars conjunct Uranus aspect is so powerful and important is because Uranus has just gone direct 2 days before it happens. And when a large planet, one of the outer planets, has been retrograde, it doesn't mean, like as with Mercury retrograde, it doesn't mean like things are going to get crazy. Uranus is already crazy. You don't want that happening. But when a large planet goes retrograde, it weakens it. It doesn't quite put it all the way to sleep, because a planet like Uranus just doesn't go to sleep. Although it's in Taurus, it's a little sleepy there. But when it goes direct after having been retrograde for a while, it's a big burst of power. For instance, one of the times that Mars, I think it was a conjunction with Uranus, and Uranus had been retrograde the day that it went direct, there was like a big nuclear waste leak into the ocean or something. So big, awful, icky things can happen, especially when it's connected with Mars. Now, on a personal note, that's not going to happen to you. But there are going to be things that are very surprising. And this is going to have to do with either a group that you're a part of, or something to do with your hopes, dreams, and wishes, goals that you're trying to set for life. So it's going to kind of throw you a curveball, to say the least. All right, then we're moving on to the chart for January 30th. This is the day, January 30th, that Mercury goes retrograde. So that's also in your 8th house. And so that's going to involve the Sun, Jupiter. Yeah, Jupiter's still there. Saturn's there, right? Saturn's there. Yeah. So Jupiter, Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury are all going to be in your 8th house. So really putting a focus on those shared resources, as I talked about earlier. It's really important that you look at these things. Obviously, the universe is asking you to really take a look and take care of that area of your life. So that's really, really important. And then we have on the 11th of February, we have another moon, actually a full moon, or is that a full moon or a new moon? That's going to be a new moon of Aquarius. So that's going to even punch up all of that energy even more. So Cancer, you're an emotional sign anyway. So having the moon travel over all these planets having to do with your 8th house, that's going to be an emotional time. However, it's an Aquarius moon. It's an air sign moon. It's a little detached. So again, if that topic of shared resources is difficult for you to approach, actually that moon in Aquarius might be the perfect time to be talking to your partner about that. Like I said, bowl of popcorn, bottle of wine. On the 17th, that's a couple of days. Let's see, when was that? Yeah, on the 17th, it's about a month after Uranus goes direct, so you'll be safe now. Saturn is going to square Uranus. So if it's not bad enough that Mars has been boosting Uranus, now we have Saturn getting in the mix. So Saturn is going to be saying to Uranus, you need to do something. Now this is very interesting. The house of your shared resources, money, big money, your partner's money as well, having a square with your house of hopes, dreams, and wishes. And very often, hopes, dreams, and wishes coincide with what we like to do in retirement, as I mentioned before. So if you've already made money from a job and now you want to spend it on something for your retirement, this Saturn square Uranus aspect is saying, no, I don't think you can spend it on that. I think you need to look at other things in your life. Or it may be saying, yeah, spend it. So you really have to look at that with your partner, because this is shared resources. So that's an interesting thing to point out. And then at the end of the month, we have a beautiful aspect between Mars and Pluto. Mars is trining Pluto. Pluto is in Capricorn, so that's still in your 7th house. And Mars is going to be in your 11th house, as we keep harping on. And so you're going to have a really, perhaps this is a situation where you and your partner share something in one of your groups. Maybe you join a group together and you get you get something out of it. You get a lot out of it. It's a passion. It's a deeply passionate project for the two of you. Or it could be that your partner just is very, very supportive of you in this endeavor. So it's going to be one of those things. Venus is still traveling very close to Pluto, and that's why I'm saying that it's going to be a good support from your partner, good feminine energy there. And energy from your relationship. So I think that's going to be a really powerful, positive energy boost, that trine with Mars and Pluto. Pluto and Mars can sometimes gang up like gangsters, like literal gangsters, and do horrible things. But when they're trine like this and in a personal chart, I think it's going to be a really lovely aspect. So I wouldn't get worried about that. All right. February 17th, now we have Saturn square Uranus. So Saturn square Uranus, once again, it's looking at those finances and going back to the 11th house. So you're going to have this several times in the year. I think it's 3 times in the year. And all of this stuff culminates in November. So these are dry runs. These are dress rehearsals for what's coming up in November. But there's just going to be, the planets are still there. There's still just a bunch of planets, a little stellium of planets in Aquarius in your 8th house. So there's still going to be a lot of focus and pressure on that. But it's only February 17th. We're only 3 weeks out from the other chart that we were talking about. Sun is moving into Pisces. So Sun is moving away from that grouping and putting your focus on other things. So that's going to be putting its focus on your 9th house. And that's really, really nice. That 9th house is going to be the place where you can dream and you can recharge your battery. You can take whatever retreat you need to take, maybe take a trip. The 9th house governs overseas travel or, foreign travel to exotic places. You may decide to study a different culture or religion, or take up a different cuisine, or you may dabble in something having to do with publishing or the law. But the 9th house is a kind of a retreat for you because Neptune is there. And Neptune is your really high imagination and creativity. It's your spirituality. It's your subconscious. But the sun comes into the 9th house, and that gives you a burst of inspiration. So that's really nice. That's really, really nice. And that's happening. That's happening in February. Let's see what else. On the 20th of February, Mercury is going to go direct. And I'm guessing that that's going to coincide with you having some beautiful moments with that Neptune in the 9th house. And at the end of the month, we talked about that Mars is going to trine Pluto. So we already talked about that stuff. So let's go on to March. Now, March begins with the Sun conjuncting Neptune. This is really, really beautiful. And this is going to happen in your 9th house. So your 9th house is going to be this blessed and beautiful place filled with lots of feminine energy, filled with lots of beautiful thoughts. Could be Maybe you travel overseas to see a female relative or friend. But whatever is happening there, this could also be that if you are involved with spirituality or religion, that you may find your guru, your master, your spiritual teacher at this time. This person may come into your life, or you may find the exact type of philosophy that really rings true for you, that really makes the sunshine for you. Just lots of beautiful things happening with that in March. Then Venus joins that group also in the conjunction with the Sun and Neptune. And at the end of the month, Venus makes a conjunction to another planet that we have not spoken about yet, Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. Wherever Chiron is in your chart, that's where you have probably suffered a wound of some kind or a trauma of some kind, usually in childhood, but even up to like late teens, early 20s. And that's the place in your chart where you need to heal so that you can learn to heal others according to that wound. So this is really a sign of our times, that we discovered Chiron in the 80s and we started healing people. AA came into being and lots of rehabilitation and things like that. So we started healing people from old traumas, whereas before, when people had horrible traumas, they just kind of suffered with them usually. Now with Chiron, we understand that you can heal emotionally from old wounds, and you can heal physically from old wounds, and you can even rebuild the body in some cases so that you really, really rehabilitate yourself as a whole person. And Venus conjuncting with Chiron is going to show you where you can use your feminine intuition. Even if you're male, you have feminine energy and you have intuition. And Venus is a feminine planet. And Venus in Pisces and going into Aries is a mixture of the male-female energy. So it's a place where Venus is going to help you understand how to heal. It's going to help you accept your wound and accept what you need to do to heal. Now, Cancers are very private usually. They don't want to talk about their wounds. They don't want to talk about the things that hurt them, but they do express that they are hurt. They're usually pretty vocal about the fact that they are hurt or they're upset or they need comfort. I don't know any Cancers who don't reach out and say, I need help. Oh, come on. I mean, talk about criers. Most people with Cancer rising or strong Cancer in their chart usually are criers when they're hurt. And I don't blame them. I cry when I'm hurt. I got Mars and Pisces. I understand that water sign energy. So Venus coming up conjunct to Chiron is the opportunity for you to recognize and address the wound. And maybe you had already healed it years ago, but never thought about trying to help others heal from a similar wound. And this is the magic and beauty of our world right now, is that we have raised our vibration. We are all on this planet and all here at this time because we want to heal and we want to help each other and we want to be in service. Now, we do have a few players that have to act their roles and stir things up and create actual horrible situations where people do get harmed so that we can heal them. I mean, it's all a part of the thing that we came here to do. But this Venus conjunct with Chiron is really important, especially for a sign like Cancer, because you do need to get in touch with the true wound, not just your sensitivity to, who cut you off on your way to work, but you need to get in touch with the true wound that is holding you back. And, 2018, 2019, 2020, as I said in the introduction, was all about letting go and shedding things that no longer served us. And this wound no longer serves you. Now it's time to heal, let it go, move on, and maybe even start healing others. So really important, Cancer, for you to get that concept and for you to look into it for yourself, for your own well-being. Okay, next chart we're looking at is May 14th. May 14th is the chart that shows us the first eclipse in the year that happens on May 26th. But what happens on May 14th is, Jupiter goes into Pisces. How could I forget that? Pisces is a sister sign to you. It's another water sign. It's a trine. And so this is going into your 9th house. And this is where you're going to feel some beautiful things from Jupiter coming in there. Jupiter is at home in the ninth house because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is the ninth sign, and so traditionally Sagittarius and Jupiter rule the ninth house. But ninth house is for higher learning, higher mind, spirituality, philosophy, the legal profession, which is supposed to be a higher minded profession, foreign cultures, foreign people, foreign cuisines, travel to foreign countries, all that stuff is all ninth house. So Jupiter going there, what's going to happen? You're going to take a trip overseas. You're going to write a cookbook. You're going to publish it. You're going to take on, learn about new philosophies. You're going to take on a religion. You're going to maybe change your religion. Any of those things are possible when Jupiter hits. Now, Jupiter only takes a little while to get to that ninth house. So whatever you're going to do it, because it's not going to stay there forever. Now, the eclipse happens on the 26th of May, and this eclipse is happening in your sixth house of Sagittarius at 5 degrees 26 minutes. And eclipses always herald some kind of a change in lives. And you may not feel it, not everybody's going to feel every eclipse. It depends on your chart. It depends on the location of the eclipse, and if that location of the eclipse corresponds to a location in your chart. So if you have a planet at the same location or degree and sign as the eclipse, yes, you're probably going to feel it. But if you have an ascendant or the opposite, the descendant, your seventh house, or the midheaven, the 10th house, or the cusp of the fourth house, which is the IC, if any of those four things correspond to the eclipse, you're going to feel it really big time. And then after the eclipse, anytime a planet crosses over that point in the sky, it reactivates that stuff about the eclipse, and you continue on either the change or learning or refining it. So it's a whole journey with the eclipse, and that's why people go on and on about them. And yet that's why so many people are like, well, I didn't even notice there was an eclipse, because it didn't mean anything to you. Now, countries and cities, world leaders, eclipses figure very prominently usually in their charts, and so they very often feel them. It's just the way it goes. Okay, and I said Mercury is going to go retrograde on, maybe I didn't say it. So Mercury is going to go retrograde at the end of the month, May 29th, and this time it's in Gemini. So all through the year, Mercury is retrograding through the air signs. So Gemini is your 12th house. So what does this mean for you? Well, at the time that it goes retrograde, we've got Venus and Mercury in your 12th house. So beautiful dreams, prophetic dreams, remembering your dreams, tons of stuff about your dreams. And then when Mercury goes retrograde, it's going to hang out there, stirring up the dreams and the subconscious and all of that stuff a lot. It also means that you may be dealing with the confinement of a female relative at this time. And that may be from if it's an illness, I'm saying it's something to do with either her hands, because Gemini rules the hands, or it could be mental illness, because very often that happens with 12th house Gemini stuff. So just putting it out there. It doesn't have to happen, but could be happening. All right, let's go on to June 10th. June 10th, there is a solar eclipse, and this is going to also hit your 12th house. This is in Gemini, obviously, because it's in your 12th house. And Mercury is still retrograde in June, on June 10th. So even though this eclipse is happening in your 12th house, you may not really notice very much going on with that. It may be later that you find out that maybe you had a dream during this time and it came true, but you don't find out about it until months later after Mercury is direct, and then the communications start flowing about it. There's little things that I thought I'd throw out there. Okay, on June 14th, we have a square between Saturn and Uranus, and I believe this is at least the second one. So this is rough. So this is between your 8th and your 11th houses again, I believe. Yeah, 8th and 11th houses. So again, we're talking about finances, shared finances, and the whole hopes, dreams, and wishes area of your life. It's not easy. It's not easy looking at the 8th house with Saturn there. That means you really have to look very, very boldly at the resources that you share with someone else. they may have a different attitude from you. You may not like the way they want to handle things, but you have to respect it if it is their money too. So things like that are, really focused, really highlighted when Saturn is going through the 8th house, and then you have this square from Uranus, and so you're going to have a curveball coming out of left field and just throwing everything out of whack. And it could be a major out of whack. So just be prepared for that. On the 21st of June, Jupiter turns retrograde and starts moving backwards towards going back into Aquarius. So again, we feel, we felt this love and compassion and kindness with Jupiter in Pisces because it's very at home in the sign of Pisces. But in Aquarius, Jupiter has a more overarching feel. It's looking more at the masses because that's what Aquarius rules. So Jupiter is giving expansion and largesse to the masses. And I'm hoping that this Jupiter in Aquarius influence is really going to help our government in the United States help people and give people more of what they want, which at this point, is money. Everybody needs money. So I'm really hoping that Jupiter in Aquarius really pushes that forward, and that, possibly in June, at the end of June, we'll get another big infusion of money from the government, because I think we're still going to need it then. And then Mercury goes direct the next day on the 22nd. Yay! So things can go forward for you and your 12th house. And I think that brings us up to our July chart. And July 1st begins the chart with Mars is opposing Saturn in the 2nd to 8th house. So this is a stop of the action that you want to do. Your impulse is to take action. Your impulse is going to be to make things go. That Mars in Leo, you're going to want to, it's your 2nd house. You're going to want to spend money. You're going to want to use money to solve what's going on, and you want to go, go, go. You're going to be impatient about it. You're just going to want to go. You're going to really want to do it. But Saturn is going to say no, and that's probably your partner. You're going to have a partner there saying, no, it's my money too, and I'm saying, no, I'm not going. So you're going to have a real difficulty there getting that worked out. But, that's on July 1st. Then things kind of stay same old until towards the end of September. So I have a nice long break in there with no squares, no oppositions, no conjunctions with Uranus or Mars. So that's real nice. We have kind of a hiatus there. By the way, that would be a good time probably to, if you can take a vacation then, because everything else is just that storm of things going on with Mars and Uranus and Saturn. September 27th is when we have Mercury going retrograde in, where's Mercury? It's going retrograde in Libra. That's in your 4th house. So that has to do with things in the home, with your real estate, with your domestic situation, with all the people that you live with in your home. So there could be confusions. There could be little minor things that break. The microwave goes out, or, your iron breaks, or, you drop the hairdryer or something. So, minor things could go wrong with your appliances. Also, just misunderstandings with people at home or misplacing things in the home. That's what Mercury retrograde in Libra in your 4th house is going to bring to you. I don't think it's going to be super tough to get through, Cancer, but then again, for you, things having to do with your home are of major importance. So it might be, just saying. But this could be, because it's your 4th house, it could really hit you. 4th house is the traditional house of Cancer, and so it could be very important to you. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yes. So Jupiter is going to turn direct on October 17th, and then Mercury is going to turn direct on October 18th. And that is going to be a little bit of fresh air, because it's happening in Libra, and Jupiter is going direct up, where is Jupiter? In Aquarius, so that it can continue on going back into Pisces. And also that's going to feel good. I don't think that while Jupiter in Pisces means we're not going to be getting money and help from the government, we will, because Pisces is all about compassion. But Aquarius is more of a money sign, and Jupiter can rule big money. And that's why I think Jupiter in Aquarius is where we're really going to be getting help from the government. So Yeah, that's the big stuff that's happening there. I mean, you've got Mars traveling with the sun for a few days in the end of September, but really the big news is to get on to November. We have another event between Mars and Uranus. Mars is going to oppose Uranus. Mars is in Scorpio. Mars is just traveling so fast in 2021. And the air energy that we're going to get from the Great Conjunction here at the winter solstice, and it's going to influence 2021. So time will seem to speed up even more. Hasn't time already sped up? Haven't you felt like 2020 just went boom? It was just like over in a minute. That's what I felt like. And now with Mars just zipping through the signs this year, it's just going to feel like we have wheels instead of legs. We're just going to feel like we're going so fast. Anyway, so Mars is going to oppose Uranus on November 15th. That is going to hit you, your 5th house to your 11th house. And that's a big one. That is the big kahuna. That is when, if something's going to explode with your relationships, with your home, with your partner or whatever, that's when it's going to happen. It could also be more of an effect on your community or your city or the nation or your state or something. But personally, you could have just a big blow up because it will represent that a lot of tensions are coming to a head. The 5th house has to do with trying to have fun, ironically. So you may be willing to take risks. You may be urging yourself to take risks or urging your partner to take risks, but you are looking at this as kind of forcing yourself to have fun rather than just allowing yourself to have fun. And Cancer, I get it. I work really hard too. And sometimes I forget to just stop and really have fun. My kids are telling me that all the time. When you have the opportunity to have fun, you should really just have fun and relax, not be competitive about it, just relax and have fun. Now you've got the Sun and Mercury there in the 5th house too. So it is possible for you to just have fun, to just go on a vacation. But with that Mars and Uranus opposition, I am going to tell you, if you are on vacation or if you are in situations that you're not very familiar with, be very careful because you could have accidents. Mars rules sharp things, and you wouldn't want to, get cut by a knife or, God forbid, have a car accident or something like that. You just want to be very, very careful. All right, moving along. On the 19th of November, we have a lunar eclipse in Taurus. That's going to hit your 11th house, I believe. Yes, right? Yeah, 5 to 11. And that's at 27 degrees Taurus, 14 minutes. And again, you may feel it if you have that sensitive degree in your chart, or you may feel it later when planets pass over it. And then on the December 4th, so now we're all the way in December, we're going to have a solar eclipse in Sagittarius at 12 degrees, 22 minutes. And that's going to hit on your, 6th house. So that, if you feel that, if you have a sensitivity to that, that's going to hit you in your house for work, health, co-workers, the way you deal with jobs and work. So that's what that area of life is about. And then finally, we come up to Christmas Eve 2021. So on Christmas Eve 2021, we have our final big old square between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. So this is not a pleasant way to spend Christmas Eve, but it's what we have. So I already talked about the square between Saturn and Uranus earlier in the charts, and honestly, they haven't moved much. I think Saturn maybe had a little retrograde or something in there. They seem to be pretty much in the same spots in the chart as they started out at the beginning of the year. They haven't gone very, very far. So when they square, it's gonna highlight the exact same areas of life as I spoke about earlier in this video. So just go back and review that. On the 30th, Jupiter finally goes into Pisces to stay. No more retrograde. And that's a beautiful thing. That's going to trine your 1st house. So that's going to be in your 9th house. So you're going to feel great when that happens. You're going to feel like, I can breathe again. I can say my prayers or my mantras or do whatever my work is spiritually, and I'm at peace. So whatever it is, you're going to feel really, really at peace when that happens. and also expansive and very tolerant and very forgiving and very open to, your fellow man and all of that stuff. There's a really beautiful energy that Jupiter Pisces brings to the table. And as a Cancer, you're really going to feel it and appreciate it. So that is a quick trip through all of the major planetary events for the year and how they are going to affect you as a Cancer rising. Now, if you are a Cancer sun, it's good that you listen to this video. If you are a Cancer sun, then I would advise you to also listen to your rising sign video. That's going to be very important. If you are interested in getting a reading with me, then just look down here and you will see my website and my email address. Either way, you can send me an email or you can you can sign up for a reading on my website. It gives you a list of all of the services that I offer and all of the fees and all of that stuff. And I would love to see you for a reading. Be sure, if you like this video, to give it a thumbs up and be sure to leave a comment. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and make sure you click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. I'm really glad you joined us for this video today, and I hope you'll come back and see my future videos. And in the meantime, have a great 2021, Cancer. I'm so interested to hear how this works, and if you listen to this later on in 2021, leave me a comment then too and let me know how things panned out, especially with all that Mars, Saturn, Uranus action happening. All right. Take care, Cancer.